He is like he was one of the people who kind of he helped push comic book movies to be more taken seriously. He was like one of the people that he was a standout in the original X-Men. Wolverine has always been one of the more popular X-Men, but Hugh Jackman took that character to a whole nother level but before, Wolverine wasn't getting his own TV shows, cartoon shows. He was always a part of the X-Men. Wolverine has had multiple iterations of his own show. He became one of the main characters within the X-Men, probably the most recognizable X-Men, period.
And he was really the only one besides Deadpool getting his own movies that falls from the X-Men franchise.
But for the comic book topics, I had two. We can probably knock them out really quick. One of them is, who is the greatest comic book movie casting of all time? We asked our listeners, and I think Robert Downey Jr. was unanimously he was the winner. Let me see.
So as far as the actor,
yeah, who you think the most iconic casting is? Because there's some good ones. You know, I left out making this poll. I left out Sir Patrick Stewart was a good one, but
for Professor X.
Yep. Yeah. So who we posted, because the poll, the photo poll limits us to only 4 options. So the 4 options we put on our channel was Robert Downey, Hugh Jackman, Christopher Reeves, and Ryan Reynolds. Robert Downey got 39%, Hugh Jackman 26%, Christopher Reeves 23%, and Ryan Reynolds 11%. Ryan Reynolds is an underrated comic book casting. He's like the perfect Deadpool.
I feel like because his personality fits Deadpool's character.
Yeah, it's kind of the same person. But I think what Robert Downey did as Iron Man, it will never happen again.
He brought so much life to that character, a character that people really weren't familiar with.
Yeah, he was like a B-list hero. Like people who even watch cartoons or read comics knew who Iron Man was. But we had this conversation before. To the general public, to the casual fan, nobody was checking for Iron Man. Robert Downey made Iron Man on the same level of popularity as Superman, Batman, and Spider-Man. If not more recognizable, which is crazy.
Honestly, he started not just only the Iron Man trilogy, but he started the wave for us to eventually get to Infinity War, eventually get to Endgame, building up the whole MCU. It all started with him becoming Iron Man.
Mm-hmm. Nobody had faith in what the MCU was trying to do until they started to Iron Man. And then it's kind of he was the building block for the MCU, kind of like you said. And it was like Robert Downey rejuvenated his career. Everything he's been throughout his career. He's always been a great actor, had other problems. And it not only made the character Iron Man who he is, or Tony Stark who he is today, but the world looks at Robert Downey Jr. differently today. So it's kind of like the actor and the character were one and the same.
I can see, because both characters, both the actor and the character kind of parallel. You know, they've been through the darkness, they dealt with things. You know, they kind of had issues, but they found a way to come through, go through those issues, get to the light, and become better people because of it. Yeah, that's a great point. I need to stop hitting my mic.
But Hugh Jackman's another iconic one, though. Like, he is Wolverine, bro.
I can understand why that would have been the second pick, because you can't really have a conversation about Wolverine without thinking about Hugh Jackman.
He is like, he was one of the people who kind of he helped push comic book movies to be more taken seriously. He was like one of the people that he was a standout in the original X-Men. Wolverine has always been one of the more popular X-Men, but Hugh Jackman took that character to a whole nother level but before, Wolverine wasn't getting his own TV shows, cartoon shows. He was always a part of the X-Men. Wolverine has had multiple iterations of his own show. He became one of the main characters within the X-Men, probably the most recognizable X-Men. Period. And
he was really the only one besides Deadpool getting his own movies that falls from the X-Men franchise.
Yep.
And one other thing I wanted to point out, and I was just thinking about it, other than Lou Ferrigno doing the Hulk and getting in shape to be the Hulk, Hugh Jackman's probably one of the first to actually be dedicated to get into a role to look like the comic book superhero that they're going to portray in the movie. Yeah. And that started like the whole trend. Like they started one for like Chris Hemsworth. That started for like, what's the dude's name?
Chris Evans. Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth,
Michael B. Jordan.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because the thing is this, I think it was like in the first one, he really wasn't as big and buff for Wolverine as he was in the first one. When he finally made Wolverine Origins. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That one that was just basically the first one about Wolverine and how he came to be. He got in really good shape for that movie.
Mm-hmm. And the funny thing is in the comics, Wolverine is actually really small, like a short guy. Hugh Jackman is pretty tall, but he was able to pull it off, which worked out. Another good one, which people might get mad at me for, is Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn. That's a good one. She's a really good casting for Harley Quinn. Even though I think DC's moving in a different direction, they're gonna recast the character, do something different. But I thought she was a great Harley Quinn. This usually stand out in every movie she's been in as Harley Quinn.
That's a good point, because the thing is this: no one really cared about Harley Quinn until she did it. Yeah, no one really, and now you have women during Halloween trying to dress up like Harley Quinn because she brought so much attention to the character.
Mm-hmm. She brought the character to life. Harley Quinn has always been a good character. If you ever watch, because she actually is one of the only comic book characters to originate in the animation in the show, and then the comics. She wasn't in the comics; she was in the show first, and then they started making comics about her. So that's a very unique situation, unique origin story of the character. Yeah, it's a unique origin story.
So it's from the one that came out during the 90s, right?
Yep. Rest in peace to old boy, Kevin Conroy. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but her character originated in that show. She did not start in the comics, which is a unique origin. I don't know if that's the first time it's ever happened. It may be, but Margot Robbie brought that character to life. She basically brought that version of the character to life, which is impressive. But Christopher Reeve is another good one. He's that guy. When you think of Superman, a lot of the time, that's the person you're thinking of.
I mean, honestly, has anyone topped him as Superman?
No. The thing about it, I like Henry Cavill too, but Henry Cavill was just put in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what DC was trying to do with Superman, to be real with you.
Yeah, bro. But I'm trying to think of we already mentioned Patrick Stewart. It's funny when I think of Professor X, I think of Patrick Stewart. Like he even looks like the cartoon character.
He does.
So
he sounds like what you would think he would sound like. Looks like what you would think he would look like. It's the same mannerisms, just a whole portrayal of Professor X.
Yep.
Patrick Stewart hit it right on, nail on the head. Perfect casting in this situation.
Yeah. Who do you think is the best Batman?
Who do I think is the best Batman?
Yeah, live action.
Actor?
Yeah.
Christian Bale. Bale, because I love the Dark Knight trilogy. That trilogy, like I said before, Christopher Nolan was probably the best director that you could have chosen to make that series for the Dark Knight trilogy, because he has a way of taking movies and making things that don't seem real and making them real. Like,
absolutely.
So Batman didn't seem like a superhero in that movie. It seemed like a detective movie.
Yeah,
a lot less than a superhero movie.
Very grounded. It was a very grounded story. Yeah, and we're going to get into that. That's another time. That's the next thing I want to jump into. But after we finish this, but yeah, Christopher Bell's a good one. I like Robert Pattinson. I like it. I want to see what else they do with it. But also another one I want to throw in there as an honorable mention. There's two of them. Chris Evans, obviously as Steve Rogers, and Chadwick Boseman, obviously as T'Challa. Those are two really good castings. Two of my personal favorites. I think there was another one in here I liked. Thor. Chris Hemsworth as Thor is a good one too. Those are really good castings.
He made a character that seemed super serious and kind of brought him made him funny and lovable and just honestly fun to watch. And I really liked him as Thor.
Yeah, same. So it's been some good ones. Maybe another topic we could do is Mrs. Oh, another one before we move on, because this character is also going to be in the conversation for the next topic. But who was your favorite Spider-Man?
Who's my favorite Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm. That's always a tough one for me, bro.
I'm gonna go ahead and switch up my answer from originally what I said. I'm gonna say Tom Holland.
Yeah,
Tom Holland, because he is a better portrayal of what Spider-Man is.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we had this conversation before earlier on. Obviously, our listeners probably never even heard this, but yeah, I think Tom Holland, to me, I don't know if I could say my favorite, but I think he's the best Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Just because if you read the comics, even in the cartoon, Peter Parker is not a very confident guy. He was always questioning himself. He's a 15, 16-year-old kid who gets powers one day. And I think Tom Holland brought that to life really well because he didn't know. He has a lot of things he's still learning about himself and growing up throughout the movies. And we watched Tom Holland grow up. I mean, we watched Tom Holland as Peter Parker grow up all the way up to No Way Home. Is when he finally became more mature and less naive about things, because he's learning hey, this shit is real. My aunt's dead. What I've done was very irresponsible. I was acting like a child. I have to change my ways. So I think Tom Holland has earned and every single last one of his movies are good. You got Tobey Maguire has Spider-Man. The original is really great. Spider-Man 2 was amazing. Spider-Man 3 was, I enjoyed it. A lot of people don't like it. And then Andrew Garfield got done dirty.
Yeah,
I do like his first Amazing Spider-Man. The second one was just a lot. It was a lot going on, and I think that the Spider-Man universe was trying to catch up to the MCU, which was ridiculous. But I think Tom Holland his 3 movies are all good. So,
well, with Tobey Maguire, those Spider-Man movies, I feel like you were saying before. He just he learned how to be Spider-Man too fast. You didn't get to see the growth. You didn't see any character development. You just saw he's Spider-Man. He knew how to use his powers. As there was a couple scenes where he was, kind of learning, but he learned too fast. Whereas Tom Holland Spider-Man, it took 3 movies for him to finally understand that with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep. And now you just if we really think about it, because he first appeared in Civil War as a kid that just got superpower. I think he had his powers for 6 months at that point, still learning. Tony Stark took him under his wing, but then we had Civil War, Infinity War, and Endgame. We still got Spider-Man still learning. And also throughout his movies. So like we were saying, I think the growth that Tom Holland showed, the slow development of his character throughout the movies he's appeared in the MCU, I think is a great showing of what Spider-Man actually is, like you said.